or solid models. I'm going to go new. Make sure that you type, whatever the file name is for this shock assembly. We call this bracket, okay? We say bracket, and that's all you have to do. And now we are in the area of sketching. We're going in a part mode where we are going to use the plane called the frontal plane to create this solid model. So I'm going to turn on all the name tag, front, top, right side view. In order to do that, you go to view and then click on this icon or command called plane tag display. All right, so we're going to go back to the models, and I'm going to click on extrude, placement, define, and our sketching plane is going to be the frontal plane, and the references and orientation is automatically selected. It's called right. Okay, sketch, and we go to sketch view. Now we are in a 2D mode. We went from 3D mode of a part file or part mode to 2D sketch mode. So I'm going to turn off all the display so it's easier to work with. Okay, temporary, but everything works in Creo parametric with the planes. Okay, without the plane you will not be able to create any solid models. But when we are going through the process of creating solid models, we have to start from a sketch. So a sketch, you have to have clear environment to be able to create a correct, legible, and as clear as possible sketch, so that you can extrude that and create solid models. If your sketch is not fully defined, then your solid model is going to collapse, especially when you're trying to do assembly. Okay, so this project is going to take us from creating the solid models, total of 8 parts, and then having all the solid models saved in a folder that, as I mentioned in class, if you create a folder called Project1, you can call it shock assembly, and the shock assembly project. And as soon as you're done with the parts, the total of 8, and then I will also create a video to show you how to assemble all these parts, and then we can do the exploded views and so on. Okay, all right, let's do it. So we start with the center line always as a reference. Okay, that's a center line. Okay, it's a good habit to indicate the center line. So I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm going to position on the x-axis. Okay, and this is a symmetrical with respect to y-axis. That's what we need. Okay, let's just put a dimension on the bottom because we're going to cut the top, so I don't want this to repeat the dimension. So I'm going to put the dimension by clicking on the normal and positioning the dimension, converting from weak dimension to a strong dimension, and that is the width is 950 millimeters. Okay, all right, so we have the top, and then the height is given as 238 millimeters, for example. So let's do this. Let's just trim, because I don't need this, I don't need that, or let me just change that. Okay, I'm sorry with the this 950. I'm gonna work from inside, then I go outside. Okay, so the inside part is 375 plus 60. Okay, don't get confused on that, because I'm doing something here called the dimension given 375, and I'm adding the thickness for the both sides, 30 plus 30 is 60, so we have a dimension of 435. Okay, from outside of this middle piece. So then we're gonna do this. We're gonna go we're gonna have a line on this side, another line on this side here. I call it the ellipse. And remember that when you do this line, impose a constraint called equal length. Okay, that will be that is great. Now we're going to dimension from this point to that point, and that total is 950 millimeters. Okay, 950 millimeters. Since I made it symmetric, see that here the two arrows pointed toward each other, it's going to keep the structure, the sketch, within the frame of reference. It's not going to fly away. And as you create the sketch, my advice to you is to look for the weak dimension. If there is a weak dimension, there's something wrong with your sketch. So that is the, you have to just really pay attention to make sure that your sketch is fully defined, or your in SolidWorks we call it fully defined sketch, or in Creo Parametric we call it a strong dimension. See that if you hover over the numbers, and it tells you that's a strong dimension. Okay, so there we go. All right, that part is done, and now I'm going to create a line that goes from this point, goes up approx. Let's see, the measurement for that will be 30 millimeters. Okay, that's at 30, and then we're gonna go maybe a distance of, somehow it's not equal length, so I will do the same thing on this side, so it will be symmetrical. See that equal length? Let me see if I can create that to be the equal length. Okay, great. And then I'm gonna go down. Hopefully that is not the equal length, but let me just dimension this one here and just say that equal. I'm gonna say this line is equal to this line. Okay, so we have the equal, the constraint that we impose, we call it equal. So it's, instead of repeating what we call that repeating the dimension, we can impose the constraint called equal. So let's see if I can dimension normal. Click on normal, dimension from here to there, and that's supposed to be 375. Okay, 375. There we go. And then we're gonna bring it down. We're gonna bring this down to here somewhere, and then we go here, and then we go up. Okay, so we are creating a bracket. Okay, let's check, make sure that there is no weak dimension, and all the thickness should be all the same. Okay, 30 millimeters all the way. Okay, from here. As soon as you see the shade, when you see the shade, that means the sketch is complete. The dimensions are all strong dimension. That is a 950, and this is 375, and then I've already given the dimension 435, which is 375 plus 30 plus 30, and that will be the total of 435. And one thing, it might not be correct here. I think this is not correct. I'm going to dimension from there to the base, and that should be 238. So this 238 we're gonna delete, and then it's gonna say what is that dimension. That dimension is 238. Okay, that is 238. So there we go. I'm gonna check the dimension from the top surface to bottom surface. It should be 238. Okay, so we're creating. Do not worry about the holes. Okay, don't worry about the solid. Do not worry about the putting the fillets in here on the sketch. As I mentioned in class, I said that its cost is gonna take it takes you so much, headaches and effort trying to put fillets on these corners, the sharp corner. We are going, it's preferable to do that in a solid model than in a sketch mode. It depends on your design, your application. The reason we put the fillet on round, because it's going to improve the strength of the material, so it doesn't, for the sharp corner, is going to break. Okay, so do not worry about putting the fillets in the sketch mode. Let's just extrude, go to solid model, and then we're gonna impose those missing part. We try to add those missing part called round or fillet. Fillets and rounds are exactly the same, but a round called the exterior rounded corner, we call it round. Interior rounded corner, we call it fillet. But in a sketch mode, they call that fillet here. See that? It says circular trim fillet. But when you go to solid models, solid mode, instead of a sketch mode, and now the fillet is going to be called round. Okay, I just want you to know that they are the same thing, but just the language that they communicate, or the vocabulary in a parametric fillet versus round. Okay, round you see it in solid mode, and fillet you can see it in sketch mode. Okay, I think we are all set. Look around, check to see if everything is good, and all the dimension, and there we go. Then we go, let's just complete this. All right, and then the depth for this is 300. Okay, we're gonna just type 300, and then hold the middle mouse button and you rotate them. You can see that you created a solid model. Excellent. Okay, this is fun now. So far so good. We have our solid model. Now I'm going to add a round. Okay, here you see that, as I promised, I said look at this, this is round, not the fillet. So we're gonna click on the round, and we know that all the outside edges they have a radius of 50. So I'm gonna just, now since I gave the dimension for 1, I'm gonna go here is the same, and then on the bottom we have the outside edges. We have that one 50 and this one is 50. So we don't have to repeat dimension, because the memory of this software, it says that since you have already given the radius, it will remember that all the click you are making here, it knows that you're trying to do the 50 millimeters thickness, or the round radius, which is typical. We call it typical. Okay, so the bottom and the top. Okay, those are all 50. Okay, and there is no fillet on or round on here. Okay, on the edges here. So we say we are happy. Say yes, and now we're gonna do the interior portion. Okay, interior portion. There's a 4 location. So we go to round, and I'm going to click on inside here, and that is not 15. It's a 20. Okay, and the round for interior portion, and we call it 20, and we repeat that in here. And then I need to do the same thing underneath here. Okay, there, so it will keep that strength, because the materials has to be reinforced by means of fillets and round, so that we have this nicely secure, and is we want to ensure that it doesn't break. All right, so far so good. I hope you have followed me up to now. Okay, now we are here. Next, we're going to create a because we're going to use this in assembly, and we're going to be using bushing, and bushing that goes into this cylinder here. So let's just create a cylinder and poke a couple of holes in there. Placement, define. We're going to put it on this surface. Sketch mode. All right, so if you're not seeing this clearly, you can just convert this to no hidden. Now you can see it better. Always use the center line. Okay, and here we don't know. See that see, look at this. It doesn't snap to the edges, correct? It does not snap. It's like it's flying on the air. It does not have a snap. So in order to make that to have a snap, I'm going to use the temporary entities. We call it project. I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to use center line, and look at that. Now it's going to snap. Look at it snap. Okay, it snap to that. It says midpoint. Yes, we are interested on a midpoint, because that cylinder will be placed at dead center here. So let's just get rid of, do not forget to delete or trim that temporary line, because it's going to cause all kinds of headaches, because it doesn't let you extrude your feature. Okay, so I'm going to create a cylinder here, a cylinder with a diameter of let me check to see what the diameter is 225. So that diameter is 225, and that's all I need for time being. All right, so we're gonna go back to shade, so you see where you're at. So we place that circle on top surface here. Okay, now we're gonna extrude it about 140 millimeters above that surface. So we're gonna extrude that 140 millimeters. The height is 140 millimeters. Okay, we're gonna say check. Okay, we are happy. Next, we're gonna create a hole in that surface. Okay, and that surface let me see that. In order to define the center, I'm going to right click and say references. You see that? See that? There's a circle, the cylinder, the circumference of that cylinder. See that? You click on that, it's going to define the center that for the cylinder that we have created already. Solve, close. I'm going to just place a hole at the dead center, okay? It has to be concentric because it's going to cause problem when we do assembly. If it's offset and it doesn't match, when we add other features, other parts trying to fit it in here, it will be offset and it doesn't work. So you make sure that that precision is important, okay? All right, so I'm gonna middle click to terminate that command, but let's just give a diameter for that hole, which is 175, okay? 175. All right, sorry that I'll keep repeating myself because that's how it is, you know, when you repeat. That means if someone is not listening or is not paying attention, knows that what I'm trying to do, okay? So this is 175, and we need to remove the materials, okay? We need to remove the material. This, my friend, doesn't go all the way down through the materials. It's gonna stop this hole. Let me just show you that. That hole is gonna be reversed. Just click on the arrow to have the materials removed. So the materials is removed. See that it goes all the way through. Just rotate your part to make sure that you know what you're doing, where you're at is clear. Has to be clear to you, okay? So I don't want this to go all the way through the materials. I just want it to stop at the level at that surface, which is a 140 millimeters. All right, see that? It put the base, the materials back at the base, at this surface here. Okay, you got it? All right, so beautiful. Let's just accept what we have. Now we're gonna poke a hole at on this surface here, the interior portion here. So we're gonna go extrude, placement, define. Make sure you grab on the inside of the circle, okay? Sketch view, and then I'm going to do the references again. We know that that's the center, and solve, close, and then we go circle. Now I'm gonna have a circle, and that circle should be should have a diameter of 75. Okay, 75, and that is, I'm happy. So see that it's placed on that surface, okay? That surface here, top surface, or inside the cylinder. So as soon as we click check, default is that it always wanted to, and this, you know, to extrude upward, but we want to extrude downward. So we click on the arrow either here to flip the arrows or there. Doesn't make any difference. Now you can see that, and this material is cut, and it's all the way through this bottom surface, okay? Bottom surface, okay? Beautiful. So far so good, and we're gonna check it, okay? Now we have a couple of holes we need to create on this, in this two wings. I call it the wings, okay? Two wings. So I will start from somewhere here, and maybe there's a one hole, okay? And there will be one hole in here. So extrude, placement, and define. I'm gonna go on this surface, sketch, and sketch view, okay? Sketch view, and let's see if I have a dimension. Okay, I know where I'm at, so I'm gonna go no hidden. I'm gonna place a hole somewhere. I'm gonna drop it somewhere here. Now I have to give a specification, and that measurement is 150. So to define the dead center for this hole, okay? Let me just put maybe a reference, okay? References, okay. Let's see if we have the reference. It doesn't matter, okay? For time being, we are okay. So let me just give a diameter for this hole, which is 50, okay? The diameter is 50. All right, beautiful. For this bracket, and I wanted to dimension from the center of this hole, from center of this hole to this edge here, and that should be 120 millimeters, okay? 120 millimeters, and that's wonderful. And I have, let me just check, okay? Always check. So I have the diameter of the hole, which is 50 millimeters. Okay, and to, yeah, 50 millimeters typical, and that is what we wanted. And 120 and 150, that is correct. Then let's go back to the shading, and I am going to check it, and then we go reverse, and then the materials is all the way through. We cut it all the way through, and that's, we're happy. Then we're gonna turn the plane back on. So I'm gonna mirror this, okay? This hole, we don't want to just repeat the same thing. It saves so much time to use the mirror command, okay? So when the hole is highlighted, I'm gonna click on the mirror command, and then click on references. Which reference? This reference, right? And then I click on the mid plane, and then that's a symmetrical, so it's gonna place the hole in the opposite side of this plane. Okay, that's the right plane. Beautiful. And everything is good to go, and we're gonna say, you know, we're happy, and this is what we have. And let me turn off all the plane, and it's clear. Okay, make sure that it's to ensure your work, okay, to make sure that it's, you have a correct orientation. Okay, orientation, you click on the front, it should behave like that. If your front view is a top view, that's incorrect. You just start all over again. If you have your you click on top view, that's your top view. You click on the right side view, that's your right side view. See, the orientation is nicely done. And if you want to render it, you can go to this beautiful color, and then maybe it's up to you because the cosmetics. Okay, I'm gonna maybe make the top view only one color, and then we say okay, and then I'm gonna color this, and maybe the red on top of that, and then I say I'm happy with it, and then say okay, and then we can do the front, maybe a green. Here we go there. Okay, that's green, and then maybe we can use blue for the cylinder, and there we go. So we have this piece nicely done,